Perhaps I'm the only guy that you can hear him in a club. My name is Dimitris MALLAS. I'm a journalist from the IMERISIA newspaper and the websites DZ and biztech.gr. Okay, so this is the workshop 2, which has the Apprentice Dragons. And this format will be a little bit strange. Even for me, it's the first time that I'm trying to do that, because we're going to have the students that they're going to share our opinions and their views about the e-skills and what they want from the companies and the people from the enterprises that are here also with us, and they will come in a few minutes up in the stage. But first, I don't know how many people of you have seen that in the next room, there was a gaming area, and there were some schools there, 4 or 5. How many was? 5 schools? 5. Okay. And 7. Okay. Misinformed. Have to done my job better then. 7 schools. And they had some conversation, which, as far as they told me, was very, very interesting. So I will call on the stage 2 of their representatives, Giannis and Xenia. Okay, I want them to come up. Not you, Tassos. I'm okay. This is the wrong. No, it's not left side. That's the thing. Okay. And as far as they told me, because they informed me 5 minutes ago about that, they had some conclusions about what they said, what they discussed in the next room. But first, I want from Giannis, who is in the left, is left from me, to say which schools were participating. Okay.
The schools that participated in our discussion about what should the companies do were εκπαιδευτήρια δούκα, ελληνογερμανική αγωγή, πρώτο πρότυπο πειραματικό Λύκειο Αθηνών Γενάδιο, Ιωνίδιο Λύκειο Πειραιά και Γυμνάσιο Φιλοθέης. Okay.
That's all?
Yeah.
All 7 of them?
Yeah, I know about 5.
Okay, what was the discussion about? What did you
about the conclusions of today's conference.
And what do you believe? What did you say?
I
think you have prepared something, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, I've written...
I know it's in Greek, but you should try and translate that in English. And that's a skill that you should have, because sometimes when you go out in the world, you have to translate everything very fast. Even if you make mistakes, try and do that. You too.
That's a bit difficult, but okay.
Try that. You were talking about the educational system and how it has to change. Am I right about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And especially in the field of technology.
Of technology. So, because we're talking about ICT skills and e-skills and stuff like that, what do you believe that it's missing in the educational system?
We believe that...
I'm picking his notes. That's why I'm trying to make him comfort a little bit. What is missing? What was the conclusion?
The conclusion was that sorry, a bit anxious.
Don't worry for that.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. Okay. I'm picking his notes, and he says something about holistic.
Yeah.
The approach of the educational system is not what you want.
Yeah. The educational system here in Greece should be improved in the field of technology and
What you're saying is that you need more technology stuff going around in the education
Yeah,
system.
a great number of schools lack in the facilities, and in my neighborhood there are some schools that have no PC, uh, not even for one pupil. So something should be done here.
Okay. That's one.
Yeah.
Xenia has the other ones?
Yeah, Xenia has the conclusions.
Xenia has a PC with her.
Yeah,
Okay.
and she has the conclusions
So
and some
help you.
suggestions.
Because what you also need to know is that it's very important when we're talking about these skills that the collaboration between two people in one company. And that's more difficult than getting to know how to write in a PowerPoint. So you have to help him now and give us the conclusions that you had. That was one first. Educational system needs more technology stuff. Fine. That's infrastructure. What else?
We need to have more teachers.
Yeah.
Special teachers.
Uh-huh.
To
Special teachers meaning that who can understand technology.
yes.
And okay, because you know, perhaps sometimes I don't know. At some point, I heard inside the panels that the teachers at this have the biggest problem because you guys here or these guys that are going up, they're digital natives. You know better technology than we do. So what you need is the teachers to know as well as you.
Yes, of course.
That's what you mean, special teachers.
Yes.
Okay, fine. Infrastructure. Teachers that are better educated and more close to you. What else?
We need to start from from older ages to practice on PCs.
Okay, that's infrastructure as well, both educational. Fine.
You want to say younger, huh?
Younger,
Yes.
it's the
And
same
older,
stuff.
yeah, okay.
Okay. Start from the basics. Okay. What else? You're a girl. Do you believe that as far as you have seen nowadays, because how old are you? 15, 14?
15.
15, okay. So have you seen that the girls, what's the impression about girls in ICT?
That the girls, they don't...
Have the necessary what?
yes, they don't...
The necessary images. Let's
yes,
put it this way.
Yes, they don't prefer to...
To work on ICT.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. How can we change that?
We have to...
You're a girl. Would you like to go and work for an ICT company or work on an ICT project?
yes,
Yes. Why?
because I like this job.
Did you have any images like that, any role models that make you do that?
Yes, in my
Okay.
school.
So we have infrastructure, education, teachers, and give more role models. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
What did you find? Do you have anything else?
Of course.
What else?
As far as I remember, because Xenia
Has the PowerPoint?
has the PowerPoint, yeah.
I have a friend who discusses PowerPoints, but that's another story.
Yeah. Our books should be rewritten, and they're kind of old, and they're too tiring for young students.
So change the way that you teach the same subjects. That's what we are saying.
Yeah, and in the
Has
field
it-
of technology, the books are not well written.
All in technology or also in
Yeah,
other
yeah.
polygon, let's say history, for example, or geography.
I don't say that for in general. I say specifically for technology.
technology.
Yes,
Yeah.
I
Okay.
agree.
Okay, thanks very much. We're running out of time.
Okay.
welcome.
We thank you
started
too.
late, but thanks very much for.
You're welcome.
Have an applause. Okay, you guys now we have three students as well. Okay, who they are a little bit more on ICT and have done some things about themselves and on ICT. And it's the first time that I'm using an iPad for a presentation. Okay, so I'm going to call 3 Niks. Okay, that was a coincidence. Believe me about that. When we were trying to set up this panel, we didn't expect that there would be 3 people with the same name, 3 guys with the same name, first name. So I would like to call Nick ARVANITELLIS, Nick NIKOLAIDIS, and Nick DANOPOULOS. Come up. Nick here is in the printed programs. You will see him as Nikolaos, but we said that we're going to change in order to be all Nicks. Okay, it's much easier for me. I would say Nick, Nick, Nick. Okay, so first, Nick NIKOLAIDIS is an undergraduate student in the Electrical Computer Engineering Department, University of Patras. Nick DANOPOULOS is a student and a self-employed in computer and computer network society. You're more like a security guy, right? Okay. And then last but not least, which is last but not least, always Nick ARVANITELLIS. He's a student high school in the 2nd grade, and you're doing what? I will start with you. What are you doing?
I'm endeavoring to be...
Take the microphone. First lesson. Okay. On. Usually that's the most difficult part. The on button. Yes. Okay, find it.
I am endeavoring to be one day a graphic designer.
Okay. Nick. Here, Nick. Nick the second. Okay.
Well, I'm interested in computer science, especially network and computer security. I like penetration testing, web application penetration testing. That's all. I love security.
And I am a first-year student in University of Patras Electrical and Computer Engineering department. I have won 2 years ago a game design competition. I was in the 2nd place from award from Microsoft. Thank you. And I'm trying to find one specific department of ICT to further continue in.
You're in the university and you're doing stuff about ICT.
Yes.
But what exactly? You need to go to somewhere specific? To a specific industry?
At some point I will have to choose, I guess.
Gaming industry? Game development?
No, I don't think. I don't like to exclude everything, but I believe...
So are you happy with what you see around in terms of jobs in the near future about that has to do with your own skills?
Well,
because all 3 of you are a little bit high, you're above the average in these skills, I think. That's why you're here.
Yes, yes. I believe there are a lot of opportunities in this area, in ICT.
In ICT?
Yes, and there need to be a lot more. There are more than...
There need to be a lot more, or there are a lot more? What do you, from your own experience,
from my own experience, I would like to have more. That's what I would like to say.
Nick here in the second. Okay, I think. No, he has his own microphone. Okay. That's why we have 2 here. You're working in an ICT industry. You're working as a security officer, not security officer. Okay, as a security guy, an IT security guy. Even though you're still a student, that was difficult to find a job like that, or it was because you tried to do that? You had the skills to do that and you took the job?
Well, I wasn't even expecting this because one day when Facebook published the graph search, a guy found me and said, "Are you interested in some stuff, you know, security?" And I said yes, and he saw some photos of me that I won at a conference challenge.
You were something like in hackathon, if I remember correctly?
Yeah, it is called AthCon, Athens conference, held in Athens. And he said to me, "What are you doing now?" "I'm a student, what else I could do?" Yeah. And he offered me a job, a part-time job, but it wasn't actually a part-time job.
So you're earning money at this point, even though that you are 70 years old, because you had some good e-skills, right?
Yeah. Every time a client wants his site protected, I'm trying my best to help him.
Okay. And what's your aspirations? What you like to stay in the same path?
Yeah.
Okay. And do you believe that there's a future there?
Yeah, everybody needs security, you know. I don't think anyone here, any company guy or someone with a website is secure.
Okay, I will go to the third Nick. Now give him the microphone. You have to change. Nick, you're an industrial designer, but that means that you're using computers for that, right?
Yes, that's correct.
So, do you believe that in what you like to do, you need e-skills? It's obligatory, or even without e-skills, you could do the same job in the near future?
Of course, I do need e-skills because there are many applications of e-skills in my line of work.
Okay, can you define something?
Like computer-aided design, which we use firmware to make precision lines or design products and packaging.
So, what you are saying is that in the near future that you're going to follow the profession that you have already chosen.
Yes.
You still need to have both the designing skills
and e-skills.
But also e-skills will be something that you have to have.
Yes, I don't think that a designer lacking e-skills would be so successful.
Will be any successful at all? Let's put it this way.
Well, there are many traditional designers with pencil and paper, but I don't think they're that popular as designers that use computer-aided design or programs.
Okay, now we have the people from the industry. Okay, I will start with the ladies. Inês HENRIQUES, I pronounce that right? Okay. She's the CEO of I cannot pronounce Ynvisible, but you, yeah, okay. Sit right here. Okay, then
Thank you.
Alain. Did I pronounce that as well? Good? Not too bad. Not too bad? Because I haven't practiced my French as well. Okay, sit here. Frédéric Michel. No, he's change programs. Always. Yeah, he knows. Piero ATTANASIO. You're here as well. Forget it. Alain here is the founder of the Egg, the communication nest in Brussels. You should explain what is that, okay, in your pitching afterwards. Okay. Piero is the head of R&D activities in the Italian Publishers Association. No? No? That's interesting. Yeah, strange. Okay. Now we have TZIKAKIS, who is the general manager for South Europe for SAP. A Greek in a German company. That's interesting. Okay, and now we have, I don't know if I pronounce that. It's Wouter von Toll. No. That's someone else. They changed the program and they didn't give me. Steve is here as well. We need one more chair. Huh?
I'll bring my own chair too.
Bring your own chair. Would you bring? We don't have another chair.
Special chair.
But you should announce yourself because you are the last one. So start with you.
WRIGHT, Telefonica.
Okay. You know what they give me the instructions was that you all six of you should do a pitching instead of getting pitches. And tell us in 2 or 3 minutes why these 3 guys should come and work with you. Or all these people over here, because we have a lot of young people here, and that's very, very good. So why should they come and work with you? Starting with the ladies again. Okay, that's a privilege.
Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here. I have to say that when I got this invitation, I myself had to think about what e-skills were and how I used it every day in my work and how people around me used it. I'm the CEO of a technology startup. I have about 20 people working with me. As a startup, we have a very dynamic work environment, very creative, but we also have challenges. Okay, let me first tell you a little bit more about what we do in the company. The name of the company is Ynvisible. We position ourselves into a technology area called printed electronics that I'm almost sure you know nothing about. That is one of the problems of the industry, and need to spread this message a little more. So printed electronics is an industry that is trying to develop electronic components that are printed as opposed to the traditional electronics that are silicon-based. So we have companies in this space that are developing printed batteries, printed displays, printed memory, printed logic, all kinds of electronics. Ynvisible has a proprietary technology in printed displays. We have flexible, transparent, printed displays with a very flexible form factor, and that is one of the advantages of printed electronics, is that these components are usually very thin, very flexible, and so they can be adapted and integrated into a variety of objects and things, everyday things that we deal with. So printed electronics is positioning itself right now as one of the key enabler technologies of the Internet of Things. So, as we all know, we live in a connected world, and first of all, we connected people. Now we're going to try to connect devices, objects, things. And, you know, when the Internet started, or computers, personal computers started, we were trying to replicate things that happened in the physical world into the computer space. We had folders, we had types of experiences that were reproduced in the computer space that were mimicked from the physical world. Now we're trying to do the opposite. We created this digital world where we have great experiences online, but people have not been able to replicate that on the physical world. So we need to really bridge this gap between what happens in the digital and what happens in the physical world. And that's what printed electronics, we believe, is going to help with. So, just going a little bit more into this e-skill space. We have a very diverse team inside the company. We're about 20 people, but we have from chemists and material scientists to electronics engineers to designers, industrial designers and graphic designers, and then the people that help with business development and management. We have two challenges with this diverse team. One is for the different expertise to communicate with each other. It's not easy for a designer and a chemist to work together and understand what they say to each other to achieve a certain goal, a certain common goal in the end. And the other challenge is we have 5 different locations for our team. So we have also a communication challenge from that perspective. Of having people connecting and collaborating together for a specific goal in the end that are located in different spaces. And these are 2 of the challenges that we have and where our people need necessarily to use e-skills in order to make it work.
But do I need to be a computer engineer?
You don't need to be a computer engineer. And you know, as I thought about e-skills and how I applied it in my own work, I consider myself an apprentice. I don't program, but I use it all the time, and I hadn't even realized it because it intermingles with you without you even realizing it. So, you know, we heard this morning about HEUREUX, about it being a platform that basically brings people the awareness that they are already e-skilled, and that's the rationale I also had to go through when I was invited to this event. And really, in the company, we use all types of tools that are both soft skill tools, if you want, that are really important for everyone of any profession to have. And then there are the specific tools that you know, designers use. Designers are sitting, you know, at a computer most of the time. They also play with then the physical object that they are designing and putting that together. But you really need to be an expert in the digital tools that will help you to be a better professional, no matter what you are.
So you need both e-skills and soft skills.
Exactly, exactly.
To live in your company, to survive.
Yes, and that is also one of the strengths of someone that is in the startup. you have to somehow manage to deal with a lot of different tasks. So I often give this example of a person we have in our team who is a product manager, that's his title, but he is the one who has programmed our website, he is the one that has developed all the partnerships to develop a certain product that we now have on Kickstarter. He is the one managing the communications campaign for that product. So I think what is really important is that
to have a mix of skills.
Is to have a mix of skills. And of course, digitally related skills are key. And one of the things I wanted to point out also is for you guys who are already pointing a profession into ICT, and you know exactly what you want and you're very focused, don't forget the other soft skills where e-skills are also relevant. You know, how to sell your business online, how to communicate it. You know, you can have a great idea, but if you're not visible, you don't exist. How you can take advantage of even social networks and things like that to communicate your idea, your product, your business. So
we're coming to that afterwards.
Yeah, okay. So what my main message is, don't think that you're not skilled when you're on Facebook and on Twitter. You are. That's really important for businesses today. And I encourage you to develop and be interested in those types of tools because they're going to be relevant in the future in your professional future.
Okay. Your turn. You have to understand what is the egg.
Okay, if you want to know what the egg is, don't look for chickens in the egg. The egg is a project, is a building in Brussels. It's quite large, it's 15,000 square meters, and we have called it the egg because we are dedicated to creativity and innovation. And so what we want it to be for young startups, for young entrepreneurs, is a kind of incubation center. So you have about 50 startups in the egg located. We have living labs and a lot of activities where we try to bring all these young entrepreneurs together to learn from each other, because that's what I think we still need from each other. One day, I hope, some of you will be an entrepreneur, and if you do that step, the next day you will look to find somebody that does the same, that is also an entrepreneur, to share sometimes some thoughts that you have, to share sometimes some ideas that you have, and you want to confront yourself with others. So that's the egg in Brussels. But what I wanted certainly to come back to with this debate about e-skills is where I come from. 30 years, I was myself an entrepreneur in media and in marketing. First traditional marketing and media, because internet was not there. Imagine how old I am. And then internet came.
Digital immigrants, all of us.
Internet came, and then we moved into new media. And then I've been working a long time in new media. And I must say that it's not easy, because we have in front of us young people that have a lot of questions, that are looking to Europe, and they look a lot of unemployment. We saw a lot of figures this morning where you see the youth all over Europe with a lot of unemployment. What to do? And those people are telling, go and start up something. But do I have the right skills? And I would not narrow down the e-skills to programmation. It's not, you don't need to program to be a professional in the digital world. I think you have something unique compared to us, is that you are digital natives. And my media industry, my colleague from Italy will tell his story, but traditional newspapers, look what they were, but look what they are today. Today, who are the strong media from the digital natives? It is Facebook, it is Tumblr, it is Snapchat, it's Google, it's Yahoo, it's all these new brands. These are your friends, your media. They are designed for you and nearly by you. And traditional media, we haven't seen that. We were a bit lost, and we are still lost. And I think all the media industry should do one thing, is to hire many of you and to invite you to traditional media and say together, let's reinvent the media of tomorrow. Make my product again as sexy as Facebook or Snapchat or Tumblr or Flickr or whoever. You can help with your digital eyes, that's an e-skill, your digital native roots. You can help many, many companies, automotive, media, pharmaceuticals, bakers, whoever. You can help a lot of traditional businesses to jump into the digital era. And that skill is something unique in which you should believe. It still means that you need to go and study, that you probably need some diplomas to achieve, or that we need some people to program the great ideas. But I think with the digital roots that you have, I think you can become, for Greece and outside Greece as well, you can become interesting intrapreneurs. An entrepreneur is somebody that starts an idea from a blank sheet, a new company. But I think an intrapreneur is somebody that enters a traditional business and brings a new, fresh way to look to that business through digital eyes. And I think that's certainly something that I would encourage all of you to think about, because it's clear and it's true that the growth in digital is quite significant. Look to the United States, look to China, and I think we, Europe, we are a little bit behind. We should try to shorten the gap and the distance with China and the States, and encourage a lot of young people to go into digital ventures. But it doesn't always mean startup. That's my little contribution.
Okay, let's go to Piero then. But I think he talked a little bit about your stuff.
Yes, no, I don't know.
Okay.
Yes, my position is a little peculiar because I work for the book publishers. So it seems the most ancient
it's the
industry.
same, more or less, has a lot of
some way the opposite of Inês. She works for printing for technologies. I work with technologies to print or something like that. Now, when I started, it was in this way. I started so many years ago, around 30 years ago, working in this business. And I started exactly, I was graduated exactly when Apple launched the first Macintosh. And this was a change in our industry because it was the invention of the desktop publishing. And I started in this way. My first job was for Apple. That's very strange. And, but in publishing. In a survey for understanding if Italian publisher would like to buy Macintosh to produce books. And then I passed all the phases of the desktop publishing, the content management system to produce books, and then the new products instead, the multimedia, that was the encyclopedia and CD-ROMs, something that is really history. And then the scientific journals that are still there. The databases for legal publishing, for instance, that are still there. And recently, e-books, enhanced e-books, e-learning, the MOOCs, the apps, a lot of new products. And then that is the field I work in more now, is how to discover and communicate about books. That is a lot of things related to semantic web, because of how to understand all the very big programs of mass digitization in libraries, for instance. There are a lot of things to do in this area. And what we do in the association is we created this small group. We are 15 people. And I just counted before coming here, tried to understand which background they have. They're very different background. 5 are IT people. 5 are a background in humanities, a philosopher, a linguist, a semiotic, something like that. And 5 are, I am an economist, there is another economist, 1 political science, and 2 lawyers. 2 lawyers because one of the fields is that we deal with the systems that support the libraries to deal with the rights, copyright information.
It's also changing because of the digital.
Yeah, everything is changing on that. And so copyright information is a big challenge at this moment. What we say always that the challenge is to let machine understand what the lawyers write. That is quite a challenge because very often even the people
Who
not
needs there?
understand.
Excuse me. Who's going to need there the skills? The computer engineers or the lawyers? I think that's.
The interesting thing is that without the combination of those backgrounds, and without the skills in the philosopher or semiotic that should acquire understanding of what is possible with the technologies, and should listen to and speak with the IT people and vice versa, and the lawyers and the economists. Okay. And without this continuous interchange, our job was absolutely impossible. I can give you what I consider the best example that is related to a speech this morning. We created a platform to facilitate the production of e-books fully compliant with the DAISY consortium guidelines for blind people. So currently, Italy is the only country in the world where 40% of the e-books produced in Italy are 100% accessible for blinds exactly in the moment when they are issued on the market. That's a great job, and to give you a glimpse of what is this job, is one of my best days was when one of our testers, that was a blind lady, finished a book that we prepared, and she told us, I never read the book like in this way before. That's the reason why it's very nice to work in this area. Thank you.
Okay, Steve.
So
the first Steve.
I'm going to take a step down because
you're going to take a step.
I see the camera people are standing still, so I'm going to make it a little bit more exciting for them. So the people before me, the peers before me, said a lot of interesting things. So it's going to be difficult for me to say something different. So I'm going to talk a little bit about myself. And I'm going to say 3 stories today. When I got up this morning, I had a big dilemma as to what I should wear. Should I put a tie? Should I put a pair of jeans? A t-shirt? Should I dress formally or informally? I didn't know what profile I should portray to a group of students that wanted to consider joining the ICT industry. The answer is that no matter what dress code I could have applied, it would still be correct. It would always be correct. Because the ICT industry is not just about Facebook developers, it's not just about Google engineers, it's not just about lawyers or accountants or sales guys or managers or business developers or architects or security guys or all of these jobs and roles that exist into our industry. The ICT industry is about being diverse, being innovative, and being different. And if you guys have any of those things, if you have the agility, the creativity, the willingness to get out of bed in the morning and go and do something different to what you did the day before, then the IT industry is for you. I work for an exciting company called SAP. Most of you do not know, but most of you are users of, which is one of the issues we have and may need some of your communication skills to become better. This is why I had to stand up today, so that you remember my company. 1.5 billion text messages are being sent every day. So most of you have undoubtedly become users of my business. My business is trying to make your life run faster and better. We try to change the world in a way that IT businesses could not do it before. We run accounting departments. We help manufacturers make most of the chocolate you eat, most of the beer you drink, those of you over age, most of the cars your families or yourselves are driving. We manufacture most of the steel, paper, all the raw materials you see around you are being manufactured or being put together using software from SAP. You will see our logo on the Formula One McLaren cars, those of you that like to watch Formula One. The second story I want to tell you is that the IT industry has many faces, especially for those like you that have a profound benefit that my generation didn't have. You grew up with Facebook. You grew up with a mobile phone like this in your hand. You can take it apart and put it together in a fashion that I cannot do it. This makes you native to the digital world. I am not native. I had to transform my DNA to become familiar with the digital world. For you, it's second nature. So that makes you more skillful than people like me or people of my generation. So all you have to do is put your creativity, your passion, into the digital world. Whereas for us, and most of us on this table, I suppose, we had to also encompass the digital reality into our passions, our creativity, and our ideas. The third thing I'm going to say, and that's my final story for today, is that no matter what you think you can do, you have to pursue it. No matter how bold your dream is, you have to go after it. Only those that go after their dreams can make the dreams a reality. I was a poor student like you. I forced myself to go to the UK with very little money to do a master's. And after that, I had to make a decision as to whether I come back and look for a job or I stay there and pursue my career there. And I did the second, and I was very lucky in that I got involved in an IT startup where I was the managing partner, which 2 years later was bought. And then I got involved into a huge software business, the third largest in the world. And today I work in the largest software business in the world. But guess what? I have no IT skills. Zero. I can go as far as using Facebook and LinkedIn. I can just about send emails. That's it. Yet my career is in IT. And that is a great thing about this business. And if you think about it, everything is working for you. All the stars are aligned. There's 100,000 vacant IT jobs in Europe today. 100,000 jobs. Asia is no longer a threat. IT jobs no longer go to India or China because this is becoming an expensive model. People in Asia and India are more than people in Europe. However, the quality of work, the innovation and the creativity is not of the same level. So businesses no longer outsource work in those markets. So everything is now coming back here. But the difficulty we have, and this is why we have this program today, is that we haven't got enough people to work in our firms. 100,000 jobs, think about this. Think about it. Think about your passions. Think about your second nature, which is the digital world. Think about all those dreams you have and how you can pursue them, how you can become relative for your own country, for your own family, for your friends, how your dreams can become a reality. Thank you very much.
Your turn.
I'm also going to stand up. I've always wanted to be on Dragon's Den, so thank you very much for inviting me. And also, thank you very much for giving me 3 Nicks to speak to, because that makes things a lot easier. So Nick, Nick, and Nick, I'm going to speak to you, okay? This is my pitch. So I work for Samsung. You probably know Samsung. But I want to talk not so much about Samsung. I'd rather want to talk about e-skills in general and about jobs. So first of all, I think sometimes it sounds like e-skills, like that's just one thing. It's difficult to define. What are they? It's almost like you can go to a shop. Can I have 1 kilo of e-skills, please? Well, that's not how it is. So I see it more as a scale from 1 to 10. So on level 1, it's actually important. I think you're being a bit harsh on yourself. You're not level 1 or 0 at all. I think it's a bit higher than that. But what I'm thinking about is people who genuinely haven't had a chance to interact with a lot of digital technology. That's sort of level 1 that I'm thinking about. I met a teacher in Spain the other day who'd never had a smartphone in his hands. Didn't know how to work it.
But he did have a phone, a mobile phone.
He didn't have a mobile phone and didn't have a smartphone.
Nothing?
Nothing.
Okay.
Okay, and
that's
that
level
is,
0 then.
That was in one of our smart classrooms, and we had to upskill this teacher to be able to teach digital skills. So this is one of the challenges, and actually this is exactly what Samsung's corporate citizenship program is about. Is to think about the people who are in more disadvantaged areas who don't have the skills yet. We need to upskill those. Clearly, that's not you guys because you are, on clearly a higher level. If I then think about, let's say, on the scale of 1 to 10, let's say a 4, 5, or a 6, that is the jobs. Actually, if you think in Samsung, that might be in finance, it might be in supply chain, in human resources. Sales or marketing, basically anywhere where you need technology to answer a question, to achieve a goal. And then you have the sort of level 9 or 10, and you might think that that's all the people we need in Samsung, and that's not the case. We need that level 4, 5, 6 just as much, and that links with what you just said earlier. But level 9 or 10, 25% of all the people who work in Samsung work in research and development. And those are the people with these really, really high levels of e-skills. So a few years ago, we had about 500 research and development people, PhDs mostly, in Poland. We now have about 5,000 of those people. So yes, there are lots of jobs there. So having thought about this skill, let's think about you. The three of you are clearly not a level sort of 1 or 2. You're sort of the upper half of the skill. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in an international conference about e-skills for jobs, right? So I think we know that. Is ICT a great place to be? Clearly, yes. 100,000 jobs vacant here in Europe at the moment. They might not be exactly where you live right now, but the jobs are there and you can go for them. If you have good e-skills, I think you have this is a safe bet for a career, let's put it that way. Samsung, if you like innovation, if you like your life really high-paced and get impossible assignments for delivery the next day, then Samsung is the place to be. And actually, I would welcome you to speak to us. But there's another option, and actually only yesterday in Technopolis, do you know Technopolis? That's just down the road. That's where Athens was opened. And that's a place where if you want to discover what options are there for you in the ICT world and e-skills, that's where you go, and they sort of help you along on the journey. And Samsung is investing in that with workshops and with technology, as you would expect. So I think my final point of this pitch is have a look at Athens, go there while you're still, while you're based here, have a look and see what options are there. So thank you very much.
I never thought that I would see a Samsung guy runs a pitch about want people to join them. So still, Steve, right?
Well, if they're standing up, I'm standing up.
You two up. Okay. The other Steve made a trend.
He did.
Yeah, I think so.
Thanks for putting me last, Dimitris, after the 5 best talks of the day.
No, that's the hardest pitch, you're right.
Yeah. So I work for Telefonica, who run fixed and mobile telecoms companies in Spain, Germany, and the UK, and most of South America. And I work for something called Think Big, which is a program which aims to help young people become more employable by being self-starters and more entrepreneurial in a digital world, and to improve their digital literacy as well. So kind of echoing some of the comments we've had about what are these skills, what skills do you need, we focus on 5 areas, and only the 5th is actually digital literacy. So it's project management, leadership, communications, and creativity. So very broad skills. You don't have to be a computer scientist, which I think is the message coming through quite strongly here, for most of the roles in ICT. And in common with the other Steve here, I've worked in telecoms, part of ICT, for 2 decades or more. And maybe I'm not an author or one, but I'm probably very similar level of technical skills to Steve here. There are many, many roles in ICT where you need different skills, softer skills, understanding customers, working with customers. Someone needs to know what makes all of this great technology useful. Because technology without a human use is pointless. And that tends to be a very different skill set. I hear a lot of different things today. What's not consistent for me today is how digitally literate are digital natives. And what I hear a lot outside of here is not enough. Very, very good at being consumers of the digital world, not necessarily at being creators. I'm sure you're an exception over there, Nick and Nick. But by and large, I don't think there's enough hard digital literacy out there. So there is definitely scope for young people to learn more hard technical skills. And that is probably where many of these 100,000 or 900,000, whatever it is, jobs this year or in 5 years' time are. Many of them will be in the softer areas, marketing, even finance and legal within ICT firms. But I think lots of them will be in hard computer science skills, which aren't for everyone, but that's definitely an opportunity. So the pitch we were to put was why work in ICT? And for me, it came down to 3 areas. One was variety, and I think of this as in working 20 years in telecoms, I've rarely ever been bored. And that sounds trivial, but it's important. It's important for 2 reasons. The first is that it's half of your life when you're working, so I think it's important to be stimulated and not bored. And the other reason is that the reasons for that are really good. It's because the people I've worked with have been diverse and fascinating, and there's been travel, not everywhere takes you to places like this, and the nature of the work constantly changes. The companies constantly change. So some of the companies I've worked in are still there, but they're not really the same companies. Most of the companies that were around 20 years ago are not around now, but the industry keeps going and going. And the second reason is society, which rhymes nicely with variety. The third one doesn't rhyme, which is disappointing to me. So I think ICT is uniquely placed to help society. Business can do good, generally, because it's the engine room of the economy. And ICT in particular does things, creates innovations and technology which help society in a way that few other industries can. And then more and more and more industries, you've heard many examples today about the things that companies are doing for society, ours included. We've heard about Samsung just now, trying to give something back. And more we talk about this, not a CSR, corporate social responsibility, which you would have heard about in the past, but a shared value. And the difference is that CSR is some money kind of put to one side to be used for almost charitable basis, to do some good and maybe do some PR and then forget about it. Where a shared value is about really integrating that kind of work into the company. And that's important because then it benefits the company and you can do more and more of it. So rather than being a finite budget, it becomes something which businesses do more and more and more, and it's a virtuous circle that benefits society and it benefits business. Because we can't do business in a society that's not functioning properly. So the third reason is, which doesn't rhyme with variety or society, is future. And as an industry, it's always had one. There's always a load of interesting trends going on. There's always a next big thing. There's always loads of companies coming and going. It always has a future, and it always will. And that's where I'll finish. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much. That was interesting as well, even though it was the last one. Before we go on, we move on, because now it's the time these guys ask the questions, I think. You ready? First, I would like to ask a question to the audience. How many of the young people, I'm not young, let's put it this way, okay, believe that they have the P skills of level 5 or 6? Raise your hand. None? Okay. So, okay, first thing, we need more skills. They're being modest, or they're being, yeah. Okay, I will rephrase the question. How many of you believe that you will need these skills in a certain level of 5 or 6, as we mentioned, let's put it this way, in order to get a job in the near future? Come on. Okay. I thought it would be more. Okay, fine. How many of you will try to work in the ICT industry, as the last three guys were mentioning? And the lady here, which is also ICT. It's not ICT. Hey, it's a ICT. Okay. Only, how many in ICT? Fewer than I thought. Okay, that's good. But I believe that's good. Okay, that's fine. Now, it's now your turn. What do you want to ask these guys? They made a pitch here. Will you go to work for them? Or what do you want to ask them before perhaps you choose one of them?
Well, I think that in the line of work that I have currently chosen, that communication between co-workers or my employer is very, very important. But I saw that not many of you prioritized it. Why is that?
When you're saying the communication between
co-workers and employers.
I think Inês said something about
yes,
that. But
that's what I said.
The gentleman didn't say anything about that. Would you like someone to comment on that? Steve over there.
I mentioned 5 skills that we try and teach in the Think Big program, and communications was one of them, and that is as important inside a company as it is outside. We did hear about entrepreneurship as well, which is a phrase that we use, and that's all about self-starting within a business, and you can't do that without sharing an idea within and around a business very, very effectively. So it should be prioritized, I agree.
And just to add to that, again, you can see this in Athens, so you can see it with your own eyes. We give 3 workshops there, 3 types of workshops. 2 of them are technical, and 1 is about communication and leadership skills, and that's really important. So I think you know that it's important, but it's also recognized in the stuff that we teach.
And also to come just back on that, the things that more and more you see in companies are now the words of co-creation, co-production. We talked about crowdsourcing earlier as well. And I think involve a bigger diversity of people is much more active now in companies than it was in some early days, because then R&D was done by some people because they were creative and the rest of the company was not. I think co-creation proves that creativity is probably in every person. Mix them and you can come up with explosive solutions.
So, okay. Nick, you also want. It's easy that. You say Nick, everybody's Nick.
Yes.
It's convenient.
So the question I want to ask is mainly because most of the ICT companies' revenue is based on very, very good ideas that solve problems. And when you employ an engineer, would you consider creative freedom? Telling the engineer, to, for example, I'm giving you an opportunity to show something, create something on your own that we can benefit of. Do you consider creative opportunities for employees more of a risk or a good way to be more competitive? Yes.
So what you're saying is, just to clarify that in my mind, is that give your employees as a company the opportunity to do their own stuff, but the company will benefit from them, or both of them?
I would say both of them.
Okay.
I would say, do you consider it as more of a risk or
as an opportunity?
Or as an opportunity, yes.
Okay.
Definitely opportunity. So, and I think this in startups this happens a lot. It's they usually have very horizontal structures, so they're not very hierarchical, and people have the freedom to really put out their ideas, and when they're good ideas and the rest of the team agrees with them, to develop them to another stage. And this happened actually within Ynvisible many times. And those ideas can come from a designer, or they can come from a scientist or a business developer. So we're very open, and we think that to have that type of strategy and freedom in-house it creates great potential for the company. And we're not doing this only inside the company, but what we're actually doing is trying to spread out the type of components that we develop into the world and putting it in the hands of makers and other creative minds. So we're moving more and more into this world of open hardware. As it happened with software, now we have open hardware, and we think that can create great potential for the companies themselves to put other people in the crowds, again, being creative with your own technologies and components.
Steve.
So we at SAP also have what we call an innovation day, and that's once a quarter. All employees have to stop working. They stop everything they do, and we use our own methodologies to promote innovation. And we actually promote micro companies within SAP so that people can develop programs and see how we can bring them out to the markets. So this is actually something that we're not doing too much, and we're trying to promote our own employees to do it. The second thing we do, and this is very interesting for you, is that we try to open up, we proactively try to reduce the average age in our business. So we try to hire young people. As a matter of fact, we have rules where we have to hire people below the age of 30, below the age of 29, so what we call millennials predominantly. So this means that...
so I just had the chance, okay.
Yeah. We don't innovate. We don't innovate enough, and we want it to be faster and accelerate the reach out to new ideas. Hence, we're forcing ourselves to reduce the average age, bring new people in, and commoditize the way we innovate.
Okay. Piero.
I would like to link the two questions because this the freedom to innovate or the incentive to innovate also depend very much on the environment in the company and the capacity of dialoguing between because the innovation in this field is not something isolated. At least in my experience is in a sort of micro firm, one single micro firm. A little research and development department in the association, and we every day have an innovation day in some way, in the sense that our job is research and development. So we are lucky on that we can.
But you're a small group, right?
Yeah, it's
you're 15 people.
15 people, yes. It's a very small group.
So it's easier to do that?
It's easy. It's easy. It's easy because we are also, apart myself, we are quite a young team. I'm the only old guy in the group. Okay. The others are now under 40 because they started more than 10 years ago. A couple of them, and then we have many under 30. And we hire between 22 to 26, more or less, when we hire the people.
So you're looking for younger blood, right?
We found that the best application were from young people. To be honest, was not a decision ex ante. When we had the interviews and we found people, the youngest people we appreciated more, and we hired. So the idea is that the dialogue between the different mentalities is one of the key of the innovation. So the two things should be very, very much linked.
Okay. You want to?
Steve. Yeah. So market research is important too. Marketing teams are important. You need to structure and manage your innovation, but there's no monopoly on good ideas. We actually have a division called the Lab, which has offices in Barcelona and London. And they're quite big groups, 20 or 30 people in each. And they're full-time, running projects, speculative projects, trying to generate ideas, trying to create innovation, and then selling it back into the business. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but they keep trying. So we see the importance of that.
Okay. The third Nick now.
Yeah. Okay, everything okay with the opportunities you give and the other stuff, like you choose young people and like this. But let's suppose that you have two candidates, okay? They want the job, but the one just finished the high school and gave many speeches and have some really good experience, yeah, with work, or has some certificates, Cisco or whatever, I don't know. And he's really good, okay? And the other candidate has finished high school, took his bachelor degree, did a master, but no work experience at all, no certificates, and stuff like this. Which one would you select?
That's a good one.
Is this a... You want a quick answer? I think the one with the work experience, we're always looking for rounded experience and, you know, someone who's done other things as well, so work experience, definitely.
For me, there's no right or wrong answer. All candidates are good for a certain job. So if I want someone with deep technical expertise and work experience, I'll hire the guy that fits into one category, for sure. I would never hire someone who doesn't have the skills for which the job is for. On the other hand, if I wanted someone who has academic qualifications and perhaps I want to use some other skills he has, even if he doesn't have work experience, I would go for the second guy. So the answer is, don't put yourself in a box when the person who's looking to hire you doesn't put you in a box. So feel free, rest assured that whoever's putting money to hire you, to train you, to attract you, is not stupid. He wants to make the most out of it. And this is why this conference is all about, to open people's minds and make sure that everyone can have a job, as long as you just think outside of boxes and outside of protocols.
And when I ask for new people, the only element that is in all my request is that people should have sense of humor. Then depends on the job.
That's a good one. Yeah. Oh.
Thanks, Kelly.
We have a few time for a few more, if you want. Or else I will do the questions. It's not always the best.
Okay. I want to ask something similar
to
Nick.
Okay.
At what point do you believe, do you consider someone qualified? When he said that he can have no experience and many degrees, or
so what are they looking for, or what are the skills?
About the skills, yes. It's
okay. So the skills.
Yes.
Are we talking just just to add something on that? Are we looking for just skills, or what kind of skills do we need?
I'll tell you a little story about somebody in a previous company I worked for. I won't mention the name.
Because it's a competitor?
No, not at all, actually. It's not a competitor at all. This was somebody who was working in supply chain, who was highly qualified in everything to do with supply chain, probably got the right diplomas and everything else. That person at one point looked up and asked his boss, should I apply common sense to this number? And I couldn't believe it. I just thought, I hope you apply common sense every day, all day. There's something about people that's not just about the qualifications that you have, about the work experience that you have. It could be a sense of humor. It could be just the fact that you have common sense. And those really basic skills are important too. So I'd like to have a mix, please.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. One of the most difficult things to do, actually, is to hire people, because normally in an interview setting, you can't really fully grasp the human side of that person that is in front of you. And there are, technical skills are important, but human character is definitely one of the things that is going to make a person successful in his or her job or not. And so things like emotional intelligence and common sense are so important when you work in an open environment where you have to do a lot of teamwork, you have to communicate with people, you have to make yourself heard and express your opinions in a fashion that is efficient for the company. So there are a lot of different factors that contribute to a good professional, and technical skills are not the only ones at all.
So You want also something? Okay.
Yeah, if I can. To add, completely agree with that, and would add that we talk about potential, potential to achieve the skills being more important, and attitude. So attitudes like being collaborative, being a good team worker, being ambitious, being demanding, are more important, fitting in with the culture of the company, more important than any particular hard skill that you can learn down the line.
So skills is the basics. You really need these skills, but then in order to work to get a job in companies like yours, organizations like yours, you still need some basic skills like a sense of humor, collaboration. Am I right about that? That's what I get from the answers, right?
Yes, and if I can say something a little bit old-fashioned, a lot of willingness of studying and studying and studying.
Okay, that's
because it's the only way to learn.
Okay. So, Nick has another question.
Well, I think that we can all agree that our technologically dependent society is an evolving one, right? And with the new products released in the market every day, our knowledge of technology is, let's say, deteriorating. What courses or seminars do your companies offer to further improve the knowledge of the employees about all the new technology that is released every day?
Well, I'll start seeing as I'm holding this. So our Think Big program, which is about digital skills, as I've said, for young people, we also try and roll it out within the company. And we build it with our own learning and development people within the company as well. So we build it for the company and with the company, for young people and for our employees as well. It's difficult. I'm not promising that we reach everyone immediately. It's very difficult to reach people. It takes a long time, but we do try.
So we have a series of programs. Actually, I see Maria here. It starts from... Maria, would you like to stand up? Okay. Thank you. So Maria is the CEO for an organization that helps us run the Junior Achievement Program.
It's not SAP, you should say.
It is not SAP, no. It's an independent organization that reaches out to students, so people in high school, people like you. And it helps you start student startups, predominantly focusing on businesses around the digital economy, the new digital economy. And people from businesses, local or international, here in Greece, go and do lectures every week and help the children, the students, grow up in a business and digital environment. So I think it all starts there, and these are programs running. Now, we as SAP participate in this, but we also have university courses. We call it University Alliances. So whoever goes into a university around economics, around technology, around electronic engineering, et cetera, can study SAP. So when they reach the market, they're ready, they have more skills in their resume. And then the third thing is we participate in innovation forums like the one you went to earlier in Athens. We call this InnoJam, or Startup Focus Program, whereby we give the platform to businesses that even are put together by young entrepreneurs or students, and we help them innovate using our own development platforms to make applications. And whatever we find that is interesting for the market or interesting for our business, we sponsor it with money, and we try to help that business grow up. We do this a lot in Greece, in Portugal, which is where you're from, Inês, in Malta and Cyprus. And we see a lot of take-up and a lot of success in this.
You want also something to
ask? As an engineer, so I graduate from the university, and I want to create something. Do you believe that searching for applying for a job that can give me opportunity to create what I want, when does applying for a job such as this is better than looking to create a startup? Would you?
So the question pretty simply is that go and apply for a job in one of your companies or do a startup, right?
Yes.
More or less, that's what you're saying?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Who's going to answer that?
Well, how good is your idea, and how strong will the startup be, and how credible and sustainable is the idea? You need all of that before the startup can be even thought about.
So you need this. The idea. It's what matters here, right?
There needs to
it
be
depends
a good
on the idea.
It doesn't matter if there are some failures, but there needs to be some good ideas that can be learned from.
Okay. Someone else want to answer?
Yeah, if I were you, does it help to have started up your own business and failed? Does that help you to build experience for a career inside a company? Yes. Does it work the other way around? I think also yes. For me, if I were you, if I had a really good idea, I mean, go for the exciting, once in a lifetime, try it out. If it doesn't work, you don't have a, well, I don't know if you do, but perhaps you don't have a family yet. You don't have so many, it's time to take risks. And for me, personally, if I'm honest, if I came out of university in Greece, I would go for a startup first. And, after that, 900,000 vacancies across Europe in ICT. I think it's a pretty safe bet.
From my perspective, and I've done both the startup early in my life and the corporate life, I would say that the only person that will give you the answer is yourself. It's your gut feel. If the gut feel is strong, even if the idea is not, even if you're not going to fly people to the moon, but if the gut feel is strong, you go for your gut feel, and you do whatever your gut feel says. But to give you my perspective, and I've done both, I would tell you that there's nothing like the excitement of trying to generate money so that you can pay people next Monday or at the end of the month. This is one of the most exciting business experiences you can have. Yeah, because you try to sell your idea so that you can pay people, you can pay the rent. No business will give you that experience for nothing, and that cultivates your DNA to become something different. That will, irrespective of whether you're successful or not, that will give you different momentum, even when you join the corporate world later in your career. Now, the corporate world, on the other hand, gives you some basic fundamentals that I think you don't find in startups, like process, methodology, orientation to results, ability to have resources around you. So these are other experiences that a startup typically doesn't give you. So I hope everybody has the opportunity to try both a startup and a corporate life. However, there is no right or wrong in the sequence you're going to do that.
Follow your heart. Okay. I've been asked to wrap it up a little bit faster. Jonathan over says the same thing. So, I don't know if it was interesting. You should be the judge of that, or the panelists. I tried to do my best, I hope. Okay. So what I'm going to say is that now we're going to have a coffee break, a little one, small one, and then there will be the workshop can't remember, it's about digital economy as well, digital economy and the digital skills again. And so at least can we have an applause for the people here? Not for me. Thanks very much.